works! You stink stronger than you strike! Down the drain and through the crud, the racky sneak when no one should! If only Cousin Ockery could have seen that cauldron go down! Hey, here's where the action is! Great heroes, manling, who fought back to back against the greenskins.
Greetings, ladies and laddies, and welcome back to the realms of this cursed city for one last time. Yep, this is it. The last episode of our speed painting series after painting these guys for a little over half a year. Having painted Culathus the Exile last week, today we're gonna paint the dwarven merchant Dagnai Holdenstock. And I can tell you right now, this is not gonna be an easy model to paint. He is quite small, but with lots and lots of even smaller details. He's got a complicated weapon, a complicated backpack, a complicated outfit, in short, a complicated everything. But as always, I will try my best to show you guys an easy and effective approach to him. So ready your paints, pick up your brushes, and without further delay, let's get going. If you have watched my unboxing and assembling video 6 months ago, you will have left Dagnai's backpack detachable, so we can take it off during the painting process and make our life a whole lot easier. First we want to take care of Dagnai himself, starting with a bright orange on his big collar and the inner lining of his coat. The coat folds open on the sides, so make sure to get these parts too. Next we take a vibrant sky blue and paint his vest and the outer layer of his coat. Here I realized that one of the folds is actually just a crack in between two parts of the sculpt, which I luckily could just cover up. This was also the moment where I realized that I left his weapon detachable too, so let me just... very good. Picking a light khaki, we paint his trousers and the paper scroll on his belt. Originally I wanted to take a light color for the gloves and boots, but then disregarded that idea and took a blue tinted dark grey instead, staying true to his classic color scheme. Now it's the true metallic metal's time to shine, as we take a bright silver paint to cover his armor on feet and shoulders, as well as his axe. Apparently, our dwarf here has seen Star Trek and cosplays as the Borg in his free time, so make sure to catch his augmentation with silver too. Now we switch to a true metallic brass, where we take care of his metallic beard, the fine belt buckle, and various other bits all around him. To not overload the miniature with colors, I think it would be sensible to paint his hoses with the dark grey from earlier too. His gloves have an ornamental trim, for which I thought a dark bordeaux would be nice. It's time we switch to a fine brush and start taking care of his more detailed cast, starting with a light khaki on his belt fasteners. Then we take a pale brown to catch the belt and the leather strap for his augmentation. Getting out the fancy colors, we paint the lens of his augmented eye with a jade green, and then paint the grip of his hammer with a dark burgundy. Staying in terms of fancy, picking a true metallic gold, we paint the key on his belt, as well as the buttons, meaning the big ones on his coat, and carefully the little ones on his vest too. His gloves also have these small studs, so make sure to catch those as well. Lastly we take a light terracotta to catch the raised parts of his skin, which in this case means basically everything. Dagnai himself is now fully painted, so it's time we move on to his weapon. Pro tip: the hole in his arm is just about right to fit a toothpick in, which I would really recommend you to do, as it makes handling and effectively painting the weapon a lot easier. Now, the weapon is mostly brass, with only a few parts silver, yet I think that starting out with silver and then painting the brass over, leaving the silver bits out, is the fastest way to go. The idea is that you just sweep big brushes in quick motions, instead of using fine brushes and losing time picking out the silver details after. Well, I messed that idea up when I didn't pay attention and painted brass over a part I wanted to leave silver, but you get what I mean. Taking a big brush again, we give the whole weapon a quick silver dry brush, and we are done with the metal here. I think a rich man like Dagnai would like the stock of his rifle to be ivory, so I painted it in a light beige, which I also used for the rope of his harpoon. For the metal adornment we can use a light silver, and for the hose or cable powering it, we can use the same dark grey from before. The weapon is now done too, and the only thing left is the metal contraption he carries on his back. Here we start by painting the whole thing with our true metallic brass, and once that's dry, we take our silver out again to take care of the details. Catching all of them is sometimes quite challenging, but doing it the other way around in this case would be just as hard. In the Brewdog Corpse Eater video 2 weeks ago, I said that the bottle around his neck has a cross on it, so it could potentially be holy water, which is a bit weird, hence there is no Christianity in Warhammer. And indeed, a friend of mine noted that the cross was slightly crooked, so he dove a little deeper and found out that it wasn't a cross, but a dwarven rune of spellbreaking. And sure enough, Dagnai has one too. Mystery solved. Thanks, mate. But anyway, after painting the trinkets in some nice colors, we switched to a pale brown for the sack on the counter white, but when I realized that this had basically no contrast, I changed it to a dark grey. Now we just need to pick our runes with a bright white, and finish it up by giving the whole thing a quick dry brush of bright silver. And with that, all of the parts are fully painted and Dagnai can finally be reassembled again. So far so good, but there's just something missing, and that little something is depth. I think you know the drill by now. Get a big brush and a healthy amount of black wash, and just go to town. Be swift on the large and smooth areas like the cloak, so you're avoiding tight marks from building up. Should the wash pool too much in some areas, just keep brushing to spread it out to your liking. While we're waiting for the wash to dry, we can use the time efficiently and paint up his base. Here we start by laying the foundation with Citadel's texture paint Stirland Mud. Then we take some mustard yellow and dab it in random spots onto the ground for more texture, before dry brushing it over with some light beige, which you can also use to paint the truly dead Ulfen Watcher he's standing on. After that we take some dark grey for the helmet. Now we just need to paint our cobblestones to match the Cursed City map cards, and paint the trim in a smooth pitch black, before calling the speed paint officially done. And just like that, the genius tradesman and Commodore Dagnai Holdenstock is fully painted up to a sweet game and table ready standard. Okay, truth be told, I say just like that, but I think it's fair to say that he's quite the tough nut to paint, even when speed painting. That being said though, this wouldn't be a proper speed paint if we didn't spend a few more minutes on him, in which I wanna show you guys a handful of steps on how to even further upgrade this already awesome looking mini. Just as before, we start with Dagnai himself, taking the same blue as before to pick out the big folds on his cloak, while leaving the wash in the recesses. Then we take an even lighter blue and paint the folds again, this time really focusing on the very back of each fold, leaving the formerly color still visible. After that we basically repeat this step with our orange cloth, highlighting the open fold and the top of his collar. When highlighting the red ornaments on his gloves, I couldn't really decide on how vibrant the highlight should be, so I tried both, which, in all honesty, doesn't make much of a difference. The gloves themselves got their highlights with a blue tinted medium dark grey. To bring more light on the mini, we take the light terracotta from earlier and just repaint his bald head, which really reminded me of that chaplain I rescued ages back. Leaving Dagnai alone for now, we wanna turn our attention to his backpack. It looks great for a machine, but not quite great enough for a fantasy machine, so we're gonna have to think of something. Taking some dark blue, we fill in the indentation around the metal frames in the middle of that round thing? Explained like a boss. Good thing I have the visuals, huh? Now we repeat this step using lighter and lighter blues, always leaving a bit of the former blue untouched until we end up with some pure white in the middle. This way we get an easy lighting effect, as if something was glowing inside that thing, and depending on how much white you're gonna use, it's gonna be brighter or more dim. Fixing up the metal bars again, and we're left with a dwarven version of Tony Stark's arc reactor. But that's not all we can do here. On the other side of the backpack we can see a pressure gauge, or manometer, and although this thing already looks quite nice as it is, I want to give it some more colors. As far as I'm concerned, this is the most difficult part of the whole paint job, and I couldn't do it with a camera in front of me, so if you don't want to do this, the model will still look great without it. It really is just the cherry on top. After quite some time of finicky brushwork, I'm happy with the manometer, and call the backpack done. Now we give the Axe some silver edge highlights, and then tend to the islands and scope, using a light green for the underside, and some white as a reflection. And with this last dot, we're finally at the end. And there we have him! Dagnai Holdenstock, the 8th hero of the Cursed City, is completely finished, and by Sigmar does he pose a worthy finish for this series. As always, I'll have a full guide with all of the exact paints down in the description of the video, and should you have any questions, maybe a couple of suggestions, be my guest and share them in the comment section. It seems like absolutely ages ago that I got the box set with the help of my friend and started to take my YouTube channel really seriously. From then on out, a whole lot has happened, and I'm really just blown away by the massive support and approval I got from you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around all this time and keeping me company on this journey. If you're new to the channel and like what you see, please consider subscribing, as I'll hopefully be continuing with cool painting videos like these for the foreseeable future. Before you go, I didn't want the series to end like any other episode, so how about we do a little miniature showcase.
Time for your next adventure?
I have no idea what I'm gonna do tomorrow.